Oh, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not police. I'm not um, a journalist. The journalists have been with the police and foreign and domestic military that attach me to fake conversations with themselves. Also with courts that have been stacking faked and changed digital evidences, including with digital child abusers, leaders of kids first forced. A Weathersfield police chief, Cintron, in 1 year, 1 or more years before that, has and had roles with that. Also at the sides of the kids' houses, and with a Cololo house near me and a Smith family near me, involved with that Weathersfield police with wire crimes and lying about what they think when we bring up other people's names. This is also people tied to them confess they do that. In other words, and this is recorded too, but they're pretending fake things are recorded in databases and they're refusing to identify themselves legitimately. All these different countries and the topics with Judge Napolitano and Scott Ritter. Why and how we are forced to be independent and simultaneously to be a unified species, human species body of individual bodies is by nature itself. For example, that's one way it's discernible. But things that are discernible true always by nature, you guys have theories of the sciences also mixed with tactical delusions, individually grouped and together. And then further as they are relativity to the all location slash S, having blamed other things or others ourselves for things the breaching method caused, which it used and uses to measure and maintain other things, others ourselves. We're and are blamed for things that it caused, like the suburbs, the design of the suburbs, since before America's founders were born, with slavery and entrenched North and South, sickly distinctly against everyone. Anyone, the only reason people could get away with debating such things while we have black pupils and whites of eyes at the same time, the same color eyes. We have and different color eyes at the same time, with the exceptions part. We have nature itself, its identity, hyper invisible but still discernible. Conjunction to the invisible but still discernible parts, like the parts of speech, the parts of reality. So you guys have people that pretending people are debating reality and they're or speaking about delusions. In other words, there are clear as day delusions that the best experts have and the worst ones too. Judge Napolitano and Scott Ritter are some ways the best experts. There are people from Ukraine and there are people from Russia involved on Hartford Hospital, which is a campus note, with mail and wire crimes, with Weathersfield Police forging and switching names, and with the families that are with Hartford Police families retired, standing, Rocky Hill, Newington, New Britain. See, town lines too. And I don't know the Casper families. Some guy brought up the bad involved with the Smith families. I don't know his name. As a patient, and he has a doctors involved with him. I might have been undercover because they're doing those little tricks, pretending they have integrity. They have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, and they have more people involved with child abusers, leaders, and kids. One of the ways they get away with it is between each of the campuses, they're attaching the kids and their family members to fake conversations with others and with themselves, and with strangers, foreign and domestic, are doing this with them. A whole bunch of people tied to a Leahy family. I don't even know where they live, but I know they work at Hartford Hospital's Institute of Living. There was also a Dr. Laura Saunders involved with WFSB at Rocky Hill locations, also with the family members of a Dr. Shub of Modern Languages, who has people in New Haven and next to where he lives in Newington, involved with the ones near my house, involved with the principal child defender, with their extended family members too. See, these are intelligence, foreign and domestic military, foreign and domestic state police families, people with forensics, with the same house /S with wire crimes, and they're educators involved with this too. Because this is, in other words, this is where and how they have everyone forced to speak through others, where that's part of the racket /S. Increasingly, people with the name Kevin Dillon, Anna Dillon, and there's a Thomas Dillon, are one of the ones with more judges. There are multiple judges tied to a Cololo house and a Smith house that have been speaking fake things in records with them, and with the police that have been forging and switching names. So fear God to hide and plot. I rap a lot. Get them my paper. Don't take my YouTube either. YouTube too. I'm telling you guys, I'll give you guys the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I'm asking you to follow mandated law. Make sure I get those judges and prosecutors on paper, because New Britain Superior Court has roles with a Joshua Julian on the Facebook page of the principal child offender, and some prosecutors. There's a Brian Silver and his kids and others in his family through time are involved with the intelligence family, with a Rick Cianfaglione, with some wire crimes, and with this Leahy family, with identity theft, fraud, slanders. A whole bunch of people tied to a Jonathan Maiano. They said it had to do with the Jonathan Maiano. I never even really saw them around each other. They have collusions with the corner of High Crest and Hangdog Lane, with people increasingly tied to these Dillons, and people with Hartford Hospital have been involved with child offenders, other natures of organized crime, and uses of all natures of investigators remotely criminally foreign influenced, per those methods of putting fake transcripts, fake ties, and fake natures of ties, per their collusions at crime scenes of all kinds of different natures, not legitimately with unmarked police forms. WTNH has roles, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with their sources too, at corners of streets and conjunctions to Route 175 from Old Wethersfield, where George Washington and our founders had to come to counter-extort right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, where slavery was relative to how slavery was left, northern colonies and southern colonies, relative to how it appears to be debatable. When people say, in other words, you don't pretend our founders had to hide their roles countering the breaching method. So there are proofs that they wanted nothing to do with slavery. They told us, get the Constitution unabridged. How could you have an unabridged Constitution and free speech and get away with denying other evidence? We have black people's rights. We have the same color eyes at the same time. And we had that left out with the breaching method left out. Not just left out, replaced. You have the experts of the sciences individually grouped in together, self-valuing sequence shifts. So would they know their knowledge of good and evil, for example, use a phrase from the Quran, out of sequence though? So you guys won't allow proper sequence perception of the Old Testament. The Old Testament dictates. It says only defend right here, where the people, the names of the people of the sciences will come together, and the part that came before it. It doesn't say the parts after it. It said only right here at the beginning. That came before the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So you guys are using knowledge of good and evil to get over on people as styles. And people see this coming. You know, no integrity is going to reach, the peak science. Like, the only reason Scott Ritter and these other people know about all these things, the Russians, Americans, is because, in other words, what they chose, I defend my country. But you won't defend it where it counts. You have Russians and Americans with collusion with Americans. Russia, Ukraine, and Americans have collusions, and with the delusions relative. Because you guys have delusions too, where you have replaced, where it is inseparable as evidences, how we have black pupils, whites of eyes, and how the breaching method was there. You guys have other things, others yourselves, blamed for what the breaching method caused, especially when you blame our founders for owning slaves. In other words, and you leave out how George Washington, we were supposed to be honest about his extortion, and everyone was extorted. See, they were using James Madison's plan, and we were supposed to refer to our founders. I read we were supposed to refer to our founders as James Madison, so there would be no confusion. It was the ones behind him and his plan. And I was, we were communicated to also that there's a difference between president and chief. And chief has to do with Native Americans. And Native Americans had to fight with Native Americans before America's founders were even born, because there was a breaching method entrenched. There was an ulterior from nature's, when a nature's also positive onto itself, value nature system, where only criminal insidiousness natures are positives, and roles with that we're capable of being more and more, and are only capable of being more and more, because we have been systems tactical ulterior from the identity that shows us positive. We're being learning about positive and negative. its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that too, because we have other species bodies that are not our own. We have birds, fish, and they also have quality aspects like two eyes in nature, consciousness that is distinct, but it is non-distinct, and it is simultaneous, but also per that which is further hyper simultaneous, which is not neither them nor us. Its identity relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that simultaneously is a phenomenon inseparable from all parts of subjects individually grouped and together too. It has us, that's what we're being shown when we're shown the individual species body of individuals, all group difference slash S, are being generated by the hyper difference. Now you guys go, oh, the hyper difference, it's debatable. Follow mandated law. Connecticut Interbranch has been switching names and forging names and screening their actual motivations for it. And this is before the World Trade Center attack every year and since. They have been planting everything. I can't get a job. I won't get a job until I got this fixed. And when I did go to get a job, I didn't go there at all to work. I went there because when I was a kid and then as an adult, people next to Central Connecticut State University, people who had roles with people that went to my grammar school that I didn't have classes with, increasingly they had roles with the World Trade Center attack with those lies. Their roles with predicate acts with facts on a mass scale into databases at wherever they are, and then further where the sciences are manifest. They even had, even if it was under, in other words, they have a fake family, but they had Anthony Carrozza. I don't know if that was a baseball player. I don't know. There was someone watching my videos with that name too. If that's you, there's people from New Britain, from Hartford Hospital, that recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they were involved with torturing you there. In other words, and then they have their conversations with your family members involved. I barely know. I don't even know you at all. And I had no communications with you. I was observing this. And these are people who put through the mail fake conversations with me with a Leahy family, a whole bunch of foreign and domestic families involved with the Cololo family and a Smith family, with wire crimes of the police departments involved with themselves, and the names involved with the Hartford Hospital. A whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital have roles with a Smith family near me and a Cololo family near me, who have roles. They've been playing predicate acts with facts roles and methods with names games on all sides of my house with people from other areas and other countries, and the World Trade Center attack. They have cousins named Scalora who are involved with Saudi attackers, and the Saudi attackers were used remotely too by a further hyper foreign that keeps the stupid nations pretending to have intelligence. Oh, well, look, we can make a nuclear thing. We can make this. In other words, all sides, A through Z, where you can't even explain the suburbs, let alone the suburbs and the suits and ties simultaneously in the breaching method. In other words, one shouldn't have to beg to get themselves taken off fake conversations with the interbranch and the news at the same time to prevent voices. WFSB increasingly had before the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. They have roles with intelligence next to them. Sometimes it's at their location, and it's their relationships with the campuses. They're not teaching people legitimately about the weather, for example. We have the technology too. Why are we paying for what they're wasting the time of real news that we need? In other words, and they've been collusion slash S with all natures of crime scenes from their locations. A whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court are involved with names who have been involved with predicate acts on my street through time. And the same ones at the other places I live, temporary, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved, time use slash estimate as the people that were involved next to the World Trade Center, involved with the attack in the World Trade Center predicate acts since too to hide that. Like WFSB attached me with fake conversations with the World Trade Center attack. Then these people, in other words, also their use of the word empathy. Their delusions are off. Again, the beginning of the Quran too. The beginning of the Quran also comes to the part that dictates how to read that book. No one allows that discern. Just like they won't allow discern the beginning of the Old Testament where it says only defend right here. The beginning of the Quran says All that matters is if you're honest about the name of the identity of the hypersimultaneous, per my transliteration of it, and per nature's, because nature is showing us we are the other species bodies are distinct from ourselves, non-distinct, and they are simultaneously with ourselves for this, but also per that which is further hyper simultaneous, a distinct identity of simultaneous. In other words, a distinct identity of scientific value, its identity relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that is why and is how the distinct species bodies are being shown that we are distinct, non-distinct, simultaneous, slash hyper simultaneous. Slash comes with the nature itself, where nature itself is showing us there is a difference between criminal insidiousness natures of positives and negatives. Nature itself shows us the laws that were entrenched before America's founders were born and through their lives. They were criminally foreign influence slash hyper criminally foreign influence. Three ways. And they were designed to cause what that caused to be used as it effectively was to get people to blame other things, others, ourselves on those causes. Because in other words, they're going to need to pretend they can speak for positive anyway. Science is A through Z and capable of it. So please follow mandated law, Judge Napolitano. Get them on paper, one name and sequence, please. And don't make it in other words. You guys have brackets out of everything. A through Z. Sciences, names. It's nothing personal. That's why you need to get me off the fake conversations with the courts' names and their sources. And I want the police switching names with the courts on paper. And I want them on paper with the people that pretended at the Hartford Hospital. A whole bunch of people tied to the Clow and Smith families near me. And people planting evidence on all sides of my house since I was a kid. Increasing uses of that lie progressions. Because these are little punks with the agencies. Different agencies, not just FBI. We're going to go into that more now. Because that's all also brought in on Facebook. All kinds of things were confirmed to me on Facebook. That's why they took my Facebook page too. Facebook too has roles within the Britain Superior Court's Facebook page with rape threats, and then with a Joshua Julian right on the principal child defender's Facebook page, involved also with a Brian Silver and others within the Britain Superior Court. With like a Judge Smith, increasingly people tied to a Ray Clow and a Joe DeMoro have been planting sequences, make them picture of me next to them, pretend we had a conversation too, as the people that do that formally. It is very important you get them on paper, one name and sequence. Only the law dictates that I can only speak for myself. Now it's important to get that. In other words, they have wire crime acts and methods where they fake transcripts. That's also involved, so you can't call them. They also, the Wethersfield police pretended they had conversations with me as a kid. They want to know, and as an adult, they want to know, and they stole the line I said to a friend of mine, and pretend I said it to one of the Mendez brothers. So there's a problem here. In other words, those Mendez police too. I never had a class with them in my life. These are people repeating people's names to others. And in a way, they're going to remember them too. The same ones who are messing with kids' education, bringing all these different natures of organized crime and hyper additional subjects and demonstrations and natures of communications on them right where they're in a class for a short period of time. These are not people legitimately worried about the quality of the education of our kids. All exceptions in exception nature that appear to be in demonstration of others, they come with demonstrations of the same thing. These are people that have failed. For what forgiveness is relative for it too, because in other words, we have to focus on the actual predicate acts with facts. That's a predicate acts with facts method. Pretend such is debatable. Pretend, in other words, you guys can't. In other words, get them on paper, one name and sequence, and have WFSB say sorry to the parents. And there are more educators now and then involved. If they want forgiveness, get them on paper. In other words, including the ones who were involved with the news, because the news forced. There was a girl from I don't know what her name is, Michelle Sandquist. I don't know if that's her real name. I mean, Michelle Sanquest. I know she changed. In other words, she made confessions to me about a Lance Cuddy, and I didn't respond to it. I was never mean to her. Never had not, in other words, if anything, I was only nice to her, but we never had communication. She was just sat in front of me. And there's a Rob Heimgartner they put next to me, is increasingly involved with the former Mayor Gold's family. It was one of the ones involved with child offenders next to Hartford Hospital with overt criminal enterprises. A Joe Aiello and others recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. A, Joe DeMoro recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that Joe Aiello is involved with them with Christopher Cullen too. Christopher Cullen too is involved with federal evidences crimes and identity theft, fraud, slanders. In other words, and sequence shifts with people from my grammar school. He went to a different grammar school. People from my grammar school I have classes with. Increasingly, John DeMoro is involved, and Joe DeMoro are involved with them with overt criminal enterprises and child offenders, including a principal child offenders and people involved with their kids too, and their neighbors involved with this. Increasingly, there is a Justin Kovinskis involved with child offenders, leaders of kids, and little coward fakes like him too. I never had a class with him. In other words, he has rules with the right near the town line drives too. Not just town line drive, literally. People at that shopping center say, I don't know her name. She knew my name, and she brought him up there as one of the people involved. Ray Close said he has roles with the manager there. I confirmed it. Before I went to work at Mobile, before I went to work at UPS, they were all recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with people at my grammar school and other schools. There were the first school I went to in Wethersfield, that school closed the second year. And that's why I didn't go there the second year. And their house is next to it. Joe DeMoro is one of them. There's ones with the name Fidelli, reportedly. And there are ones with the name Schedule, which is a conjunction to that street, which has some state police. We has some some type of military family members involved with the corners of the streets too. That's on a corner of the street, and their roles of probate judges, where elderly are locked in elderly homes, where they have collusions at forensics. Whiting Forensics increasingly has collusions with probate court judges and superior court judges and district court people and superior court people with a Cololo house near me, and with a DeMoro and with people with the name O'Brien and Smith involved with wire crimes with them, and people I don't know the names of involved with violence and planting evidences intercities. So it's important, and with the spots involved with the Whiting Forensics increasingly, it's important to get them on paper, one name in sequence. The police have confessed that they had roles consciously. They had been influenced to switch names as their roles with the police chief Cintron, and they're recorded, confessed, demonstrated their sources in them. They're demonstrating it has something to do with his roles with Elm Streets in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill, as they are conjunctive to Route 3, and as it is also a conjunction to the state judicial branch offices. And these are people also on off the state corrections offices and next to it. And just when people are driving by, as roles with the World Trade Center attack predicate acts in the identity racketeering. So in other words, we have to have free speech when people are tactically delusions wrought readings of religious books and sciences. In other words, get them on paper, one name in sequence. And they use the right to lie to people's family members where they don't have those rights. You wait till you see the readings of statutes, the criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought readings of statutes we can observe once we start appreciating Black people's rights of eyes. A 10. So in other words, they have people from Russia and Ukraine involved with fire departments in Central Connecticut State University and the Weathersfield Police forging and switching names. These are also names involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Lusk, and his co-defendants. There, get them on paper, one name in sequence. Let's go. Well, no one has time for this. Make sure you get on paper.